This will be for the con exercise trig identities from reflections and rotations. Okay, so here we have a unit circle, and they're saying that the angle theta is in radians. So they are asking which two of the following expressions are opposite of the cosine of theta. So you want to remember for the cosine of theta on the unit circle, that's just going to be the x-coordinate. And what they mean by opposite, it's going to be the same value, but you want to change the plus minus sign. So here's our angle theta, and the x-coordinate will just be the x-coordinate of this point right here. So that would be somewhere on this axis. And the opposite would be the same point on the negative side of the x-axis. Okay, so basically this angle would be like so. And if you trace it down to the x-axis, it would be the same as the original x-coordinate, but the negative version of that. So anything that results in this angle right here will be the opposite sign. So let's look at our choices. So the first one says cosine of pi plus theta. Okay, you want to remember that pi equals 180 degrees. That's half of a circle. So let's try pi plus theta. So pi, we said, was 180 degrees. So if we start at pi, this is pi right here. Okay, and this is theta. We're going to add this much to the starting point of pi. All right, so if we went this much from over here, we'd be about right there. Okay, so this would be the positive x, and over here, I didn't draw it that well, but this here would be the negative of that x. Okay, so the first one is definitely opposite. That one is true. Now for the second option, we have the cosine of 2 pi minus theta. Let's try that. Okay, so remember that 2 pi is 360 degrees. So we're basically starting right here at the same starting point, and we are subtracting this much, this angle, from 2 pi. So when you subtract, you're going in that direction. So if we subtract this angle from here, we're going the same amount in that direction. Okay, and that will just be the exact same x value, but we want the opposite. So B is not true. Answer C, cosine of pi minus theta. Let's try that. Okay, for pi minus theta, we said pi is at 180, so we're starting here. That's pi, and we're subtracting theta. Okay, so we're again going in this direction. So the angle would be right there. Okay, so again, we said this was the positive x, and right here, this was the negative x. So that's what we want, the opposite. So answer C is correct. Okay, it says choose two answers. On the following unit circle, theta is in radians, and the tan of theta is 0.98 divided by 0.2. You want to remember for this problem that the tan of theta equals sine of theta divided by cosine of theta. But the sine is the y-coordinate and the cosine is the x-coordinate on the unit circle. So for the first one, they want us to find the tan of pi minus theta. Let's take a look. So recall that pi equals 180 degrees. If we do pi minus this angle here, we're starting at pi, okay, and we're subtracting this much. So we're going to wind up right here. Okay, that's pi minus theta. Now, the y-coordinates here match, and the x-coordinate is going to be the negative of the original. Okay, if you trace this down to the x-axis, it's going to be negative x. So if we do tan of pi minus theta, it's going to be the same y coordinate, so we keep the y, and the negative x coordinate, so we're going to make it negative x, and we see that that is just the negative of the original. Y divided by negative x, that's the same as negative y over x. In the original, it was 4.9. But now, since it's negative, it's just going to be negative 4.9. Now for the next question, we're going to do the tan of 2 pi minus theta. So remember, 2 pi is 360 degrees. That means we're starting at the original starting point, and we're going to subtract theta. So we're going in this direction. We're going this amount in this direction. So that is going to be like so. Okay? And we can see that the x-coordinates match. Okay? But the y-coordinate is going to be the negative version of the original. Okay, see, this is the y-axis and we're down here, so this is the negative version of the original. So for the tan of 2 pi minus theta, for the y-coordinate it's going to be the negative, and for the x-coordinate it's going to be the same. So it's just negative y over x. It's the negative of what we had originally, which was 4.9. So now it's just negative 4.9. So just enter both in the boxes. Okay, so we have our unit circle, and we want to find both of these. Let's start with the sine of negative theta. So recall that the sine of theta is the y-coordinate on the unit circle, and we're doing sine of negative theta. So this angle here is theta, okay, and if we do negative theta, we're going this much in the opposite direction. So this is a little bit more than three quarters of the way around. So we're going to start here and do the same thing. So this is 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, and we're right here. Okay, so it's basically like this line right there. All right. So again, all I did for negative theta, I went the same amount they did, except I rotated from the opposite direction. Okay, and we can see that the x-coordinate, I didn't make it perfectly accurate, but the x-coordinate matches, but the y-coordinate is the negative version of the original. Okay, since we're doing the sine, we're looking for the y-coordinate. Now, from the original, the y-coordinate was negative 0.96. So on this one here, it's going to be positive 0.96. So that's the sine of negative theta. So enter that in the box. And now we're doing sine of 2 pi plus theta. Let's see. Okay, recall that 2 pi is 360 degrees. So if we're adding theta to 2 pi, we're going to start at the original starting point anyway, because 2 pi is one rotation. And then we're just adding this amount, theta, once again. So we're basically at the same point anyway. Okay, we're at the same point, We're looking for the y coordinate because we're dealing with sine, and it is just negative 0.96. So just enter that in the box. Okay, I forgot the negative sign on this one right here. I should have wrote negative 0.96. So there you go. All right, one more problem here. We have our unit circle with theta in radians. And they want us to choose two of the following expressions that are the opposite of the tan of theta. If you recall the formula for the tan of theta on the unit circle, it is the y coordinate divided by the x coordinate. So it is basically the slope. All right. So if you have a radius that extends like so, the tan of this angle theta and the tan of that angle theta are going to be the same because the slope of this line is the same as the slope of that line. Now in this problem they said they wanted the equivalent of the opposite of the tan of theta. So it's going to be the same slope except you just change the plus minus sign. So if we took this slope right here and change the plus minus sign, it would basically be like this. Okay, the line would be the same steepness, but instead of a negative slope, it would be a positive slope. So the ones for the opposite of the tan of theta, it would be this one right here. Or if you went almost all the way around, it would be that one there as well. Okay, so anything that lands here or here is going to be the opposite of the tan of theta. So answer A was the tan of pi plus theta. Let's try that. Okay, if we add pi to theta, we're basically adding 180 degrees to theta. Okay, so here's our angle theta, and we're adding pi, or 180 degrees to that. So 180 degrees is a straight line. We just end up on the other side of that line. Okay, so this was the original, and this is the one we just got. But that's the same slope. Okay, we're looking for the opposite. So answer A is not correct. Okay, answer B is the tan of pi minus theta. Remember, pi is 180. So we're starting here, and we're subtracting theta. We're subtracting this much starting from pi. So we end up right there. Okay, and we said this line here was the opposite of the tan of theta. See this line here? It's just the negative slope of the original. So answer B is one of the correct answers. Okay, answer C is the tan of 2 pi minus theta. So we want to start at 2 pi, which is the same as starting at 0, and subtract theta. So we are subtracting this amount starting here. Okay, so if we subtract this amount, we're basically on this line again, okay, which is the negative slope, which is exactly what we want. So answer C is also correct. So B and C were the two correct answers. They wanted us to choose two.